everyone. Welcome inside the Red Earth Production Studios for another edition, actually a special edition of YBMcast. Today on the show, we have our GAC preview with Francis Howell Vikings head coach, Tony Perkins. Coach, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks. It'll be fun.
Yes, indeed. And as always, YBMcast is powered by Game 7 Baseball, game7baseball.com. Make sure you check out what's going on there. And today on the show, we do this normally. We're kind of in our regular throws. We have with us today our resident guru from Prep Baseball Report, Kevin Mulder. Mr. Mulder, how are you, sir?
Doing great.
Running up and down the countryside, correct?
Yes, sir. It's go time. Month of February. It just keeps coming, and it's a lot of fun though because I get to see a lot of players before they start their high school tryouts and team practice here at the very end of the month this year.
Yeah.
Was it
right.
Feb 27, Coach? Is that the start of the?
Yep. That's it. Right on the nose.
27.
Yeah.
There you go. So once Kevin gets through February and whatnot, we're gonna talk about that. What are some names? What are these 26s that he may be seeing? 25s that jumping off the radar, and because that's what you've talked about too, Kevin. You've talked a little bit about that as far as who's that person that made the big jump, and then when you get into that 23, 24 class, who's the kid that's put in the work that goes, oh my gosh. That's not what we saw last year, right?
Right, no question.
So we'll get a little chat. But today, Francis Howell Vikings, 2022, they were 32-10 overall record. They were 7-3 in the GAC South, District 4 champs. Third place finish in the Missouri State Championships. Got 11, and let's just put it this way, you got 11 returning seniors. You graduated 3 guys basically off that team with Breakenseek, Rouser, and McCutcheon.
Mm-hmm.
Correct?
Yeah.
As far as guys that really...
Oh, they would go, those 3, especially McCutcheon, the player of the year in the state of Missouri. I mean, that's a big bat to place, but... usually high school you have to start over and you lose guys and stuff like that. This year there's questions to be answered, but not as many as normal because I had so many guys and even the seniors, they're 3-year guys. I mean, they played with me as sophomores too, so they're seasoned. They've been around. Hopefully they're hungry. I think they will be hungry. After we got third place, it's unfinished business. So.
And last year, we saw you at the state championships. Like I said, you had all those guys going through that experience all the way through districts into the Final Four. That's got to play a big role in how that they come back into this season. But it could play both sides, couldn't it? It could be maybe a little cockiness or how that plays out. How do you keep them from staying focused and not, saying, oh, we should be there?
Yeah, that is the toughest thing. I mean, I've had a lot of teams where I thought we were great and we ended up falling on our face and not even getting out of districts. It depends on how the group approaches it, and that's, again, my job. And, I used the word hungry earlier. You got to be hungry and you got to keep working hard every day and outworking everybody else every day and having your goals in mind. Our goals have never changed from year to year, but we're going to try and get to that place again, not just saying we are going to be to a Final Four. We're going to get a Final Four. That's not how it works, man. You got to earn everything. With the teams we got to play, day in, day out, it's going to be a tussle. We're going to lose some games, there's no doubt. But hopefully that'll give us some fire, and at the right time we peak, and the right time we get hot. If that happens, we got a chance.
There you go. Kevin, we're going to start off today with pitching, and I think there's a wealth of pitching that we've been talking about a little bit, and so you may even have some questions about some younger guys and some opportunities. What do you why don't you go ahead and start off with some pitching for Coach Perkins here?
Well, I don't think you have to. If we're going to talk pitching to start off, it probably starts right off the bat with Bryson Naputi, arguably the ace of last year's team. Is that a fair comment, Coach?
For sure.
Yeah. Heading down to San Jacinto Community College, one of the top, baseball schools in the country. And, what I like about Bryson, he seems to be a fierce competitor, strike thrower. He's left-handed. He's in the upper 80s and can throw a couple pitches for strikes. And, of course, he plays center field as well. But it's nice when you have you can certainly win games in high school without a number one. You get guys that throw strikes and compete and all that. But you have a bona fide number one at the top of this thing, don't you, Coach?
Yeah, he's been touching 90s. He touched 90 towards the end of the season here and there. But you're right. He mixes things up, and he's out there having fun, man. He's throwing strikes. He's got great off speed. He knows when to use it, and then all of a sudden he pops in like Coach said. They're 88 to 90. It looks a lot harder than that, even because of all the other stuff that he's throwing. And the dude hits. I mean, he's just a great athlete. He'll be the middle of the order guy for us. I mean, he puts up some numbers. He was first team All-State. He multi-positional guy. So he can play all the outfield spots. It doesn't matter. He'll go get it.
And then, I'm not certainly putting your guys in order here, but just going kind of down the list here. And, you got Shipley, who's heading to St. Louis University, as another frontline arm for you who, is another guy that's going to be in the upper 80s to 90, 91. So give us a little bit on Adam Shipley heading to, St. Louis University.
Yeah, what a great kid. I mean, he was a quarterback on the football team. They're undefeated, and he led them to the state championship. So he's been in some postseason stuff. I saw him the other day, and he's just getting bigger, man. He looks good. It's just really good. But he's got a level head about himself. I mean, when you look at pitchers, we're talking pitching now. I mean, the demeanor that they have. They're getting all fussy and getting with their head down. These guys, him and Naputi, just whatever, shrug your shoulder, give me the ball, let's go, next pitch. Which is the attitude that you got to have. And Kevin was fortunate to get him down there to the Futures game last year, and he got to throw, and he touched a 90 down there, and I was like, okay, here we go. And he's got nothing but stronger. I anticipate that number to be quite a bit, and he throws strikes. I mean, with our staff last year, he pitched on Saturdays quite a bit, and he helped us win some ball games just cause, as a sophomore, which is really good against good teams. I mean, he competed against some good teams, but I look forward to having him for the next 2 years.
Because SLU, that's baseball, right? He's going to SLU for baseball, so he's a baseball guy that plays football.
Yeah, you never know, that could change too.
And you talk about the experience there. Between the two of them, you got almost 100 innings returning on the mound there. Both have played at major, events. Actually, they've both been down to the Future games, and then Shipley, of course, the starting quarterback on state championship football team. That's you're not going to find a program with as much experience out of the 1-2 is that right there. So that's got to be a comforting feeling for sure.
It is.
I love the leadership thought process there from Shipley coming out of that experience, leading that team to a championship. That's got to mean something, right, Coach?
Oh, it will, but it won't be his team.
I get that. I know he's still a young guy, but I mean that does count, though, doesn't it?
It does. It does. I mean, as far as the seniors, they'll take charge. I mean, that group. There's a bunch of them. I mean, there's a bunch of leaders in that group, so I don't think leadership's going to be a problem on our team.
Very good.
How about some guys that also were looking to step up? I know, like last spring, I was at the Columbia tournament, and this might have been his only outing of the year. I saw Alex Bryant throw a complete game shutout for you. He's going to be a junior. I know he's a strike thrower that I've seen in the mid to starting to become upper 80s, and
Yeah, they start to touch 88. Yeah, that's that was a beautiful thing because we played 5 games in 4 to 8 hours, and he come out and did a CG, and we got out of there in 5 innings. I go, hey, we got a chance. It was awesome. I was so happy for that guy.
We talk about it all the time, the importance of depth, and depth is great, but it's tough for a coach because to gain some depth, you have to put some guys in some opportunities that have never had a chance. And coach talks about the schedule that they play is phenomenal, so you're going to get challenged. It's not like you have many opportunities where you're just going to kind of show up and it's automatically going to happen for you just because you walked off the bus. So it takes a lot to have the confidence and the ability to say, okay, well, I'm going to put this kid out here who hasn't pitched an inning for us, and whatever happens, happens. But you certainly reap the benefits of that down the road, don't you, Coach?
Absolutely. There's some other guys. I mean, Caleb Miller threw in that semi game for me. I mean, he's a Swiss Army knife. I mean, I can put him anywhere. He can play second, and he can catch, he can pitch, and he competes. I mean, he's getting up in the upper 80s as well. Love that kid. I mean, and he'll get after it on the field. He's your gamer kind of guy. He's your dirtbag kind of guy. I love him. So I don't know where he's going to end up, but he'll be on the field somewhere.
Yeah.
So he's one of my arms that I'm looking to use quite a bit. Brady Wilson, my third baseman, didn't get many man innings last year because it didn't need it, and he was at third base. So but that comes to a point in time. Like Aiden Johnson, Titus Sissel, those guys all throw, but how much you want to mess with your defense? Do you want to keep your defense the same all the time? And there can be a lot of moving parts, but the less moving parts you have, the better you're going to be. So, but I do have those guys in my pocket. A big shot in the arm is going to be Brett Norfleet.
That was the elephant in the room right there, Coach.
I was waiting for one of you guys to bring it up.
Oh, I was going to get there. So talk to us a little bit.
Brett.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, obviously, Brett led the state in home runs and is one of the key components of the offense and is just a physical presence there, and obviously a two-way talent heading to Mizzou to do football and baseball. But in his early part of the high school career, he was a big piece of things for you on the mound, or an exciting talent on the mound, a low 90s guy.
In 8th grade.
Coach, do you know, does he plan on pitching this spring? Or
For sure. Yeah, he's been working up P3 with Brett Graves, which is kind of nice because he's alumni and stuff, and he's on a program right now, and he did some pull downs the other day, and so he says arm feels great, and so it's awful nice when you put 6'7" on the mound and say, here it is, come get it.
That labrum is hard to come back from, isn't it, Kevin?
That nowadays with the elbow and Tommy John, it's almost automatic. They get that one, and it depends on the type of repair you have, but within 12 to 18 months, usually these kids are back on the field. The shoulder's a different deal, though. That's not an automatic. You never know quite how that's going to play out. And I'm sure, it's kind of been a long time coming for Brett. And, it's great to hear that he's stuck with it and his arm's feeling good. So that's phenomenal news.
Yeah, that's good. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know that I'll start him. We'll see how, his arm builds up. I mean, but if I could have him on the back end, that's pretty scary. So that's what I'm kind of looking at right now. I got starters, but if I can bring in Brett Norfleet a couple days a week and have him throw an inning here and there, that could be really deadly.
So I got a philosophical question for you, Coach.
Come on.
You obviously run a great program. You got a lot of older talent. I also know that your program's chock full of youngsters that are, haven't played a high school game yet.
Hold on, Kevin. Hold on. That's the finale question. So we're going to get there. Hold that.
Okay.
That's at the end. I know exactly where you're going. Hold on to that. We're going to go to
All right.
defense first. We're going to go pitching, defense, and offense because I always go pitching and defense first, and I always say this. I tell people I'm an old Dodger guy. That's what Tommy Lasorda did, so that's what we do. That's what I do, at least. You know, you pitching and defense and hit a couple bombs and go home, right?
No question. I think leading into that, if we're going to go defense, in my opinion, the state semifinal game with you all and Liberty North was the game of the year in Missouri high school baseball. It's 10-inning classic,
It was
and both
outstanding.
teams made unbelievable defensive plays to continue to extend that game. And I still remember it was Sissel that made the diving play at second base to save
Yep.
the game for you guys at the time. You
Jake
guys threw a guy
McCutcheon
out
made-
from left field.
That was Humbert.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. You lose the Missouri High School Player of the Year, your starting shortstop from last year. What are your plans for the middle of the infield at this point?
The middle of the infield, that's the only question is the shortstop. You know, we had Aiden Johnson who signed his commitment papers this morning. Defensively, yeah, for sure. He's as good as it gets. But, you know, offensively, we got to see. He did hit a home run for us last year. The other option is putting Sissel there. I mean, Ty is the only time he plays outfield really is when he plays high school baseball. And in summertime, he plays shortstop and second base. You know, he's such a great athlete, so fast. His dad timed him in his 60 this week, and he was 6'5", which is way, way above average. Yeah, so that's a good thing. So he can get to balls, but then you start messing with the middle part of the defense as well, which is tough. I mean, you got to be strong at the middle. Your catcher, your shortstop, second baseman, your center fielder. With Ty in center field, man, he goes and gets it. I mean, but Naputi was always a center fielder as well, you know. But he moved over. I remember last year he came up and he thought, you know, he was a center fielder. He thought he'd run in there, and after he'd been around Ty for a couple 3 weeks, he came up to me. He said, "Man, he deserves to be in center field because just some of the catches he was making in the gaps, you know, and going and getting it. He deserves it." So that was pretty humbling on his part and being a good teammate, you know, and just recognizing what was going on. You know, I don't know. I mean, it could be Johnson. I mean, if I go Johnson, have Sissel, Humbert, and Naputi in the outfield, that goes and gets it. But, you know, Naputi's going to pitch, and that opens up another slot for an outfielder, which we have a couple of those guys too.
Because Sissel saved you those runs against Hal Central in the quarterfinals, that shot in the gap. He went and got that. That was a heck of a catch. And really that was, I think, the tide of the game right there.
Oh, yeah.
So it's so tough to replace that kid in center too.
Yep. Defense wins championships.
Man.
I was going to say there aren't many high schools that have a true center fielder to begin with. Now, they have guys they put in center field, obviously. You might have three of them, Coach, because Leo is a plus runner as well.
Yes. Boy, I saw him this morning too. He's gotten bigger too. I got a football team this year, man. It reminds me of 2016 when I had the Twins and Brady Wildtooth, 3 of the 4 linebackers on my team. I mean, these guys, they're invested, man. They know what they need to do, and they're doing it. I mean, we didn't even mention one. I got one other pitcher out there, Evan Pivowarski. I mean, he was kind of a closer for me. Velo can get up there, but he's different arm slots and different things and kind of goofy. I used him at the end last year quite a bit, and he won us some ball games, and he's a senior. He was a starting linebacker too. But, he's the guy that I can use at the end. If I use him in Norfleet and some of these others, I can piece it together.
He had a 1.94 ERA too. I mean, he ain't giving up a lot of runs.
No.
So,
it's pretty good.
Yeah.
He'll probably
Coach, what are the
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, what are the options behind the plate? I know about Aiden Rogers, who's committed to Jeffco. I also know you've had a couple guys you used back there behind the plate. What are you looking at? Because obviously shortstop, center field, the final dimension up the middle is arguably one of the most important, and that's obviously the catching position as well.
Yeah, Rogers, he's been with me for 2 years. He had some hiccups here and there, but I got to go back to Caleb Miller. I mean, he catches and he does a very good job defensively. Rogers throws it a lot better than Miller, but I think, I don't know, if I was doing it today, Rogers would be catching, Miller would be at second, Johnson would be at short, and Sissel would be at center field. Now, what happens in a couple months, who knows what's going to happen, but I got to have somebody strong at second base. I could put Johnson at second base, I could put Sissel at second base, whatever. I could DH Aiden Rodgers. I don't want to do that. I want him to catch for us, and I want him to make it happen. He's got to keep himself focused and get after it. He's signed at Jeffco, right? Carter Allen's another catcher. He's going to St. Charles Community College. He's a prospect dude as well. A lot of those guys were prospect dudes. And then Tommy Kramer was on the team last year. He's going to Illinois Tech. So I got 4 senior catchers. I don't know that I need 4 senior catchers, but it's a rough deal there. But
that's tough. That is tough.
There's options there, but I'm
Brian. That's exactly what I just heard is options. And you talk to most high school coaches, there is a catcher or there is the shortstop, and coach has some champagne problems, I think, because you do have to find innings for these guys and opportunities, and they got to earn them.
Yeah, and as you both know, and I think this is the toughest thing, and I was talking to some of the other coaches in previews. I think the most difficult thing, especially in a situation like what you have, Coach, is how are you managing all these personalities, right?
That's tough.
Because that's tough. You got a kid that feels good about himself and whatnot. He wants to play. He wants to contribute. That's what it is. How do you keep those personalities all in place to where, you keep the team going in the right direction?
Yeah, it's going to be hard. I'm going to break a lot of kids' hearts. I mean, not only the biggest one is not making the team, but even when you make the team and you're sitting most of the time, I mean, that goes in a lot in who you keep. Mm-hmm. Even, what kind of teammate are you going to be? Are you going to be the guy that sits on the bench and pouts and, is a cancer to the team, or are you going to be a rah-rah guy and getting behind guys and getting people up and being a contributor, even if you're not on the field, being a contributor from the dugout? I mean, all those things come into play.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys I've cut that I thought if they didn't play, they were going to be a cancer. They're not good students, and they will just be a bummer when they come to practice. They'll be a bummer at games. I don't want a bummer. I need upbeat people. I need people getting after it. I need people rooting for each other. I need that kind of stuff going on. We need that to, be successful.
There you go.
But last piece of the defense that can kind of go overlooked, but I think it's really comforting for the infielders is you do have a large athletic target over at first base. And we talk about his pitching, we talk about his hitting, he hits all the home runs, but it is a nice deal to have a 6'7". Obviously, he's a premium athlete with being a tight end recruit, and Norfleet over there at first base too.
It is comforting.
Make it a little easier to make those throws from the left side. You're a little high.
All those guys.
That's called catch radius.
They don't know how spoiled they are. He makes catches that he's not even jumping or, and just stretching out and making that catch where, most normal first basemen are not getting to that ball. If they do get to it, they're off the base, and that my guys have been spoiled having him over there, just that frame at 6'7" and with that long reach. And like you said, he's so athletic, it is a good thing. It makes me smile.
It makes you smile. So, offensively, I think this is where the separator is, in my estimation, because there's a lot of teams in the GAC, especially if we're talking GAC, that have pitching. In those respects, there's the arms. Maybe not the depth, but still, they've got pitching. But offensively, you're bringing back all these kids. I know you lost McCutcheon. That's 52 runs and 38 RBIs. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of run production at the top of that. But when you look at this, you still got Norfleet at 40 runs and 54 RBIs. Naputi, 33 runs, 28 RBIs. Aiden Rogers, 22 and 24. Brady Holtman, 18 and 24.
We haven't even talked about Brady.
Yeah. Caleb Miller, 23 and 20. Titus Sissel, 28 and 25. Shipley, 22 and 24. Leo, 32 and 29. I mean, that's run production.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically your lineup right there.
Yeah. Brady Holtman, he was I think first or second team all district for us. He signed today. He's going to play football at the University of Wyoming.
Yeah, I saw that.
That's pretty good stuff.
That's outstanding for him.
And he's a horse.
Awesome.
And he's a horse. He's been hitting. He's was kind of the. We had a revolving door in left field for a while when Leo was kind of not able to throw early, and he ended up being the guy. And he started for us out there in left field quite a bit, and he hit.
Yeah.
I mean, he runs into one, it's going to go. I mean, he's so strong. But now Leo's back. Leo's Leo. He's just a great athlete. He's the next star. He can really rake. And he pitches a little bit too. So, but with his bat,
And Holtman made some plays for you in right field when Naputi was on the mound.
Well,
I thought defensively that really
he'll go get it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the people don't realize how good of an athlete that dude is. I mean, he was a running back, linebacker for the football team, and he was first team All-State football. I mean, just a great athlete, and he brings that football attitude to a baseball field. Just just going at it, as hard as he possibly can. He's not going to just lay back on the ball. He's going to be going. So, Sissel, Naputi, whoever's next to him better be backing up because he's going to go for it. So it's important.
And you're going to need that because, as I said, pitching in the GAC, I mean, and the early season schedule you play in some of these tournaments with teams that are coming in that we've seen, there's great pitching on these staffs, and then you roll into the GAC. These guys are going to have to be focused and ready to grind it out at the plate, aren't they, Coach?
Yeah, it's a philosophy and how you approach your at-bats. I think there's only one, maybe Holtman, but Norfleet and Holtman, do they swing for home runs? Probably. And they do maybe a little bit of launching technique. Yeah, I hate that, but they're big enough, strong enough. They do run into one. It's going to go.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even at our place, which is Death Valley. But, and I'm okay with that as long as we're not striking out more than we're getting on base. I mean, that's the biggest. To me, when I put up a lineup, I go right to on base percentage. Those are the guys hitting top of the order. Everybody else on our team, I think, understand that, middle is where you live. They can bunt. They can run. They understand when to bunt. They understand when to use that aspect of it. They're very good about going oppo with the guy on second base, right-handers, or getting a simple ground ball to second base, getting him over to third. They understand that philosophy about how to handle each at-bat. I mean, it's not a me at-bat every time. Mm-hmm. It's got to be a team, a we thing every at-bat. What can I do to get us closer to getting a run? And that's what we have to impress on our guys. And we do that in practice. We put cones out in the outfield, and we try and get them to, just work on not launching the ball, but hitting line drives, so that we can get on base. If you're what's that one baseball movie where you hit the top of the net, you had to do push-ups? Major League,
yeah.
Doing push-ups. I'm not
the ball on the ground.
I'm not doing that, but I'd rather see a hard ground ball than a fly ball any day.
Kevin, as well as anybody, the buy-in that it takes to when you see Brett Norfleet, who this big kid, hits a ton and whatnot, squares around, and I've seen kids that are flashed the bunt sign from a coach and they give it the Olay bunt, and it's because I don't want to, but I've not seen that from he squares around, he's doing it, it's a buy-in.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, there's a lot of times. I would say that I give the bunt signal, probably half the time that we bunt. Because a lot of those guys, like I said, they understand. We drill it into them, in practice, and they see something that's open, they're going to bunt on their own, which I love that. I just, get on base and I'm just giggling. I go, that's beautiful. That's just beautiful when that happens. Well, Coach Goff called me one time after a game. He goes, Perker, how many bunt signals did you give? I think we bunted like 7 times in that game. And I said, probably 2 or 3. He goes, I knew it. Them guys are just doing it on their own. I go, hey, isn't it great?
That's huge. And I think that goes to Kevin. We'll let you lead off with your philosophical here as we finish out.
I was going to say that's what makes the offense dangerous is they can line up and beat you in a lot of different ways because there's going to be there's some days we get later into some of these early season tournaments and the pitching, we get into the depth chart a little bit and, maybe it's good conditions, it's warm, maybe the wind's even blowing out. You can play that game. You can go get double digits. You can line up and let guys bang some doubles and even a couple of homers here and there. You can also play the game when it's low scoring and we need to play the short game. And you got some good athletes that can steal some bases. And then when all else fails, you have some guys that can change the game with one swing. I was at a game last spring when it was Braden Rubel from Howell Central and Naputi were locked in a pitcher's duel at 0-0, and there wasn't much going, and Norfleet came up and hit one out to right center, and you guys won 1-0. So that's 3 different ways you can win, and you're capable of doing all of those, which makes for a dangerous offense because you can have a plan, and but you never know exactly what type of game you're going to get into until you're full on into the game. So
yeah, we're so strong right now. We're so strong right now that we got guys. It wouldn't surprise me if I had 7 or 8 guys hit a home run this year. I mean, Sissel hit one last year. Johnson hit one last year. Wilson had two or three home runs last year, and Wilson's gotten so much better and bigger and stronger at third base and such a steadying influence at third base. But, with Norfleet and Naputi, strong as an ox. I mean, all those guys have hit home runs in the past. Can they do it? Yes. Do I want them to do it every time they come to bat? No. So that's just something we're going to have to work out. They'll run into one every now and then when they don't even, or they're not trying. It's like, okay, were you trying to hit home run right there? No. I said, there it is. Don't try.
Norfleet ran into 9.
Yeah. He's on a different level.
Well, ahead, you have power, like how I always judge power, like dealing with college-level guys, in getting guys bought into the weight room. You got a guy when he can miss one and it still goes out of the park, and that's kind of what you got there with Brett Norfleet, I'd say.
Yeah, when he's hitting it into the softball field at our place, that's some length.
So we're going to finish the segment here. Kevin, go ahead, hit him with your philosophy there, bro.
Well, it's really more his philosophy. I am well aware of some of the young talent that you have in your program, and I also realize that these kids haven't played varsity games, but you've shown that if you're good enough, you'll put them on a varsity team and start them if they're a freshman or a senior. And it seems to me the best man's going to play. Obviously, Leo Humbert started as a true freshman, and you had him in the 4-hole. I know you got some young guys coming. How do you balance that out with, hey, maybe like a Dylan Curtis, for example, would be a frontline name that's going to be a Power 5 guy,
yes,
potentially. How do you fit a guy like that, or should he, or do you, hey, let him be the man on the JV team, the sophomore team, and get his work that way? How does that work, Coach?
It's a tough thing. I mean, Sissel started as a freshman too. I've only had 2 guys before that in my career that were 4-year guys for me, and we've had 2 freshmen start for us in the last 2 years. There's a couple things got to happen there. I mean, number one, he's got to be good enough, right? Mm-hmm. And then secondly, the most biggest part is there a need? With Humbert, a little bit different story because he was hitting and raking. So if you hit, you're going to get in. You're going to play somewhere, right? Sissel, there was a need. I mean, we brought him up, and he played in the outfield because we had somebody hurt. But as the first few weeks, we were going to ship him back down. but he hit enough and bunted enough and got on base enough that he earned a spot, and he ended up playing with us the whole year. This year is going to be tougher, but I know we have some marquee guys. I mean, Eli Skidmore, Braden Ray are at the sophomore level. Both them two dudes can really pitch. And then we have the marquee guys at the freshman level with Dylan Curtis and Jack Brettensteiner. I mean, both those guys are, well, Curtis is 6'3". He just got back from Oklahoma State this weekend. And then Brett Schneider, he's a basketball guy. He's 6'4", long, lanky, with a pitcher's kind of, build. And both those guys can really sling it. To answer your question, it depends on the week. And I'll let them know way ahead of time. I'm pretty good about letting know guys when they're going to throw. And I'm going to use Skidmore on Saturday, and I might just slide them in there on a Saturday just to get their feet wet and see what I can get out of them. I want them fresh. Let's see how long they can go. And, I got other guys, I can just slide them in afterwards. But I think I need to get them the experience. Our JV team is going to be loaded. I mean, it's really good, really good.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of freshmen down there too. I mean, I can't quit. Hopefully I can stay alive long enough to coach these dudes because, man, they're just great players, and they're baseball guys, man. They love it.
It keeps you young, doesn't it, Coach?
It keeps me on my toes. But I love being around these guys, and I help them with their college choices, and I help them get to a college, and that's where I'm a little bit ahead of a lot of guys on that one, so that helps, and guys know that, and that's why guys come to Francis Howell, and those guys that I just mentioned, those are just arms. I'm not talking about some of the hitters. I mean,
right.
there's some kids down there that can really swing it too, but those. I mean, Eli Skidmore is 88. I mean. Yeah. What do you do with that kid? I mean,
freshman,
sophomore.
Skidmore
and Ray are sophomores. Ray's a lefty. Oh, we didn't say Jackson Vaughn. Oh my gosh,
big fan of Jackson Vaughn.
Oh man, me too. He's a sophomore, and he's an outfielder, first baseman. He's pitched in the past. I don't know if he's pitching much anymore, but he can really swing it. He's just big old 6'3" dude. It's a rock. He's playing basketball now. I won't watch the JV basketball game just to watch him, and it was like, what an athlete. I mean, he's really good. He's the guy that, offensively, if somebody gets in trouble, if I need somebody at first base, I can slide him in there. But, there's a junior, Owen Larrigan, that plays first base too. So, I don't know. I like to get him in. I mean, but you only got X amount of innings. And when I've got, 16, 17 pitchers without
right.
them, that are good enough, if they're not good enough, they're coming.
And to Kevin's point, here, this is something that I think is very interesting. And he said this on numerous occasions about Francis Howell, Zumwalt West, and a couple other schools and whatnot. It's a program. Your freshman coaches, your JV coaches, the messaging, the understanding of what Francis Howell is about, it's all the same across the board, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Well, I met with my coaches last Saturday, 1 o'clock. They all came to my house, and we sat down, and I was talking to some of the varsity guys afterwards, and I said, what'd you think? He goes, I think it's really great that we did that, and we talked about personnel, about and I get, opinions from my freshman and sophomore coaches, what do you do for me as a freshman, what do you do for me as a sophomore, but we all get on the same page. That's a good thing, and I did that way ahead of time. So now it's fresh on our minds. We have an idea of who we're looking at, who's on the bubble, who we really need to concentrate on, because we know the guys are going to be on the team for sure. But then you really concentrate on the other ones to see if they're good enough or somebody's improved enough to make the team. So we'll have. I think we looked at it. We have 38 juniors and seniors coming out. I'm not keeping 38.
That's tough. I don't think. Do you have that many uniforms? I mean, honestly, you think about that. And shout out some your freshman coach. Who do you got down there?
Yeah, Coach Schmidt's down there, and Coach Schroeder's down there. I got two guys down there, really good. Schmidt's been with me for a long time. Howell grad, he understands. I got Clark Cranston and Rich Barnes at the sophomore level. And Clark's been with me for quite a bit of time. He used to umpire a little bit too, so he's got some common sense, I think. And Rich is really into the game, With my staff, I got Matt Feld, who I really enjoy, man. Last year I picked him up late and played at Jeffco and played at Mizzou, and the kids love him. I mean, he's a hitting dude, and he really helps us there. You know, Sissel's been with me for over 20 years, and I coached him when he was in high school, and in 91 to 93. That's how old we are. And then I got Anthony Herron too, with some pro experience as a pitcher, draft for the White Sox. So having 4 guys at the varsity level is just a beautiful thing. I can split it up and we can get some stuff done.
And that's not a common thing, is it?
No, not at all. I've been fortunate.
Yeah.
I mean, you only get 2 paid varsity, so I got to fundraise for the rest of them, but I try and throw them as much as I can. And most time those guys that are extra guys just do it because they love the game, trying to get their foot in the door and not really concerned. I'm sure they're concerned about the money, but
sure.
I'm going to give them as much as I possibly can and keep them around because, if you get 1 guy at the freshman level, 1 guy at the sophomore level, and 2 guys at the varsity level, that's pretty thin. And with all the guys that we have to deal with, I mean, you need a lot of guys to help, and you split up like our lower levels. Those 4 guys, they'll split up. They'll have freshman and sophomore outfielders, freshman and sophomore, infielders, and they split up and got 4 different things going: pitchers, catchers, and that's great. That's how you get better, man. When you get, you can maximize your time, and that's a big deal.
Yeah,
I appreciate those guys a lot.
There you go, Kevin. Any last questions, thoughts?
No, I'm just excited for what is it, March 17th, and we can get out and watch them play.
Absolutely. We're going to have some fun GAC game of the week. I'm looking forward to that. I don't think there's going to be any of them that's dull.
It'll be exciting. It'll be a war.
Yeah. So we're going to have a lot of fun with that. Coach, as always, appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Good luck to you this year.
I like talking about my guys.
Yeah. Francis Howell Vikings, Coach Perkins. That's our GAC South preview for the Vikings. So hope you enjoyed it. Everybody, please, if you like what we're doing, again, hit the subscribe button. Once you hit that subscribe button, hit the dinger next to it, because that's what we do. We hit dingers. And except for Coach, you could bunt that dinger. You could bunt the button.
Yeah.
Couldn't help it. Oh, man. That'll get you all your notifications for upcoming episodes of the show. We do appreciate your support. Remember, throw a comment down there. We'd love to hear what you have to say. Like, share it out with your friends. We appreciate it very much. And we appreciate, Kevin, as always, these guys, the support from the baseball community, coming on, talking baseball. It's a lot of fun. We're going to continue our GAC preview. We got some more guys coming up, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Until next time, all you pitchers, keep throwing strikes, and hitters,
the Vikings hit them where they ain't.
There you go. Love that. That's good advice. We'll see y'all next time.